Hi, everybody. My name is Coffee Brown, and this channel is Coffee Spills the Tea. This weekend, I'm going to be coming to you to talk to you about when you're traveling, how you can stay safe when you return to the United States. I can't believe I'm actually saying those words. Usually, I'm focusing on when I leave the United States and I'm looking at travel advisories and I'm looking at the countries where I want to go and I'm looking to see if there are travel advisories. Now I see that the travel advisories are telling people from other countries that this is not the best place to be. The United States is not the best place to travel to. So let me just kind of give you uh a little bit of perspective coming up with the video. So before I get started to go any farther, let me just say, and I know it's been a little bit of time. I was going to do the Met Gala, but I got very bogged down with a last minute contract that was handed to me, and I had to scramble like crazy to prepare for it. And then I had to spend the week recovering once I finished the contract because it was a lot of work. And I was just really tired last week. And as all of you know, I'm also on my diet. I'm not going to call it a diet. It's a lifestyle adjustment, but I'm exercising almost every day. I do take off one day on the week. But I was just wrecked last week to the point where I took 2 days off. So we will see how that goes when I do my next weigh-in next month. Anyway, back to one of this video. So remember to please like this video, subscribe to my channel, hit that notification bell so that every time I upload a video, you will be notified. Share this video with your other friends that are out there that may be in a situation that I'm going to be describing to you. So we are talking about being safe while you are overseas. And then not when you are overseas, actually when you are returning. Because here's what's going on. It seems and appears that TSA is being used as a way to kind of intimidate people. And it could be, and granted, this channel is for Black women who are really trying to find a way to have a stability. And it could be mental stability, could be financial security, stability or security as well. It could be any kind of stability. And in this case, travel stability. But I was reading about it. It also could be people coming from the outside the United States. Um, there are these two German girls. They just turned 18, had just graduated from high school, went to Hawaii without having an itinerary of like basically booked hotels because they were like, hey, just graduated. We're going to celebrate. We're going to go to Hawaii. We're going to like enjoy ourselves. We'll figure it out when we get there. I have done that many a time, many a time. It's only been in, I would say, the last 10 or 12 years in that I've myself have started to make a reservation, and only because my friend who I travel with is like demands that we make one. Me, I've always been like whatever. Like, and when I was younger, and I was like backpacking and traveling and biking and stuff all over the place. If I could find a place for the night, I'd be like, okay, train station it is. And I'll just sleep on the floor of the train station. Like everybody was doing it. Like, why would you set an itinerary? That just doesn't make sense. You are 18. So they came into Hawaii. These poor girls were detained, questioned, strip searched because they didn't have an itinerary of what they were going to do when they arrived in Hawaii. And so they were held for like weeks while this was going on. This is allegedly what happened. Eventually, they were taken to the airport and they were deported. They were deported. And where did they deport these two girls to? Not back to Germany. They deported these girls to Japan. To Japan. I was just like, I don't even understand like what's going on with TSA. It makes absolutely no sense. I have heard stories of people coming back and being interrogated, like American citizens coming back and being interrogated and held and like they've been like asked very invasive questions. Like I understand they're going to ask invasive questions, but they seem to be targeting certain groups of people. And so I said, okay, better to be safe than sorry. I've been looking at all the stories and then just kind of compiling things that I've noticed. And, as usual, I have notes and I have a second computer here where I've made some additional notes that I just want to make sure that I share with you. It is going into summer season, it's going into travel season. You may be saying to yourself, I want to go abroad. That's fine. But you need to be aware that when you come back, things could be ugly. No, there's a good chance that you're going to come back and nothing's going to happen. Case in point, I have a relative that went overseas to Europe. When she was returning, what made her life a lot easier was that they have a TSA in the country where she left. So they have a US borders and immigration in that country. And this is one of the things that I'm going to recommend. So she went through TSA in that country. And I said, yeah, it must have been really humane, right? And she's like, yeah, like they didn't like try to harass me or anything. It was just, yeah, you're going when they arrived at their connecting departure, they were like, you're going to go through TSA now. And they went through TSA there. So she had already been screened once at her airport of departure, but then when they got to the bigger airport, still in Europe, and they were getting ready to transfer to the big plane, they did one more TSA search or TSA checkpoint, and that one was through US Customs and Immigration and Customs. And they just went ahead and was like, okay, you're good. So when she arrived back home, they just went like they just flew in and she just like came out of like regular like terminal. There was no like additional like TSA checks or anything. She didn't have to even go through TSA. She just like got her bags and walked out of the airport. So I'm going to make that recommendation. Do some research. ChatGPT is your friend. And if you are going to be flying to other countries, find out if they have a TSA in that country on with that airline because I believe it's also airline specific because I have flown before on an airline and I can't remember which one and I for the life of me one or two where they have done the TSA check and they're like, this is a line for US citizens. You are leaving this country. You're going to go through this line because we're going to do TSA right now. And then you are still in the other country, but you are at the US TSA and you just go through. And then when you arrive back, you just grab your bags and go. You don't have to go stand in a line with all these other people, hundreds of other people waiting for hours and hours and hours to get out of that airport. So do the research and go find an airport in that country where you're leaving. Find the airline first, like look at the airlines, then look at the country, or sorry, yeah, look at the countries and the airports, and then see which ones may have a TSA over there. Because there is a spot of humanity that's still going on overseas that doesn't appear to be here in the United States. So that is something to think about. Another thing. So I have a sister who married a European. And it just so happened that he's still like in the process of, like, he has a green card and he's in the process of getting his citizenship, which we have absolutely no idea how that's going. But for some reason, they are hell bent on getting over, leaving out, and going back to his home country. And I was like, are you aware of the fact that there are people with green cards who have left? And when they're on their way back to the United States, the people with the green cards, when they fly in and they're going through TSA, they have been deporting some of these people with green cards and saying, we no longer want you to continue the process of applying for citizenship. And they're like, oh, we didn't know that. And I sent them the articles and I was like, you need to start checking on this. You need to talk to and this is my next suggestion. If you are traveling with a significant other or a husband or somebody who is not from this country, but yet they have a green card, if they're flying back through, you want to make sure, if you're adamant on going, talk to your immigration lawyer and make sure you hand your itinerary to your immigration lawyer and tell your immigration lawyer, if you don't hear from us, like within 5 hours of our landing, then please come to the airport. So this is what my sister is going to do. She's going to put money down with this attorney so that, as you know, a retainer. So if something happens when they're on their way back in, then the immigration lawyer will know to come to the airport. I mean, he can check flights and see, like, oh, okay, the flight did land. It's been 5 hours. Haven't heard anything. Let me just run to the airport and see what's going on. And so I just recommended that she do that. Now, my sister is different. She has been big on tattoos, and we know how this administration feels about tattoos. I myself have one tattoo in a place that you will never see it unless I literally have no clothes on. I did it on a whim, on a little bit of a dare, and it's in a very private spot, so I don't have to worry about anyone seeing it. But her tattoos are everywhere: neck, chest, back, arms, stomach, legs. It's not extreme where it's like all over her face and like it's not that extreme. But she does have a lot of tattoos. And I told her they are stopping people at the border. And I have seen some cases where they said, nope, you can't come in. Now, she's a US citizen. Can they stop her? I don't know. Because so far, they have been taking, the administration has been taking US citizens and deporting them away anyway. So you don't know. And it's not good to try to take the chance. So what I counseled her to do is you go and find that the best makeup artist that you can find in the state where you live, and you show them all these tattoos and you give them your skin tone and you have them bring like you buy a lot of this makeup and you're going to cover it up before your flight when you leave so that they don't try to take pictures of you. And then when you come back, you got no tattoos and they're going to be like, what's going on? And then that could lead to issues. But cover everything up. Professional makeup. So where nobody can see it. And then just wear some loose long sleeves because where she's going is hot. So it's not going to make sense for her to be wearing these like turtleneck sweaters and everything like up to here, like long sleeve wool. And like that's going to draw some red flags as well. But a nice light long sleeve airy shirt, dark shirt where everything is covered is important because like they're going to come back and she's got tattoos on her knuckles and it's going to be a red flag. And even if like her and her husband get to a certain point, her tattoos may then have them go take a look at him. And that's not a good idea. So cover it up. So she's going to cover up all her tattoos. I also recommended that, and I know this is like a long shot, but there are air tags. I said, look, why don't you both get air tags on each other for each other and turn it into like a necklace or something that you can like put into a necklace, or maybe like excuse me, transform it as like an earring or something. Probably a necklace is best. And if something happens, and say my sister gets through immigration, but her husband is MIA, and she's just like, I don't know what's going on. At least if you have an air tag, you can like activate that air tag and somewhat be able to follow movements. Now, I've heard they take you to different parts of the airport and they'll interrogate you here and there and everywhere. And they take you to different rooms and subsequently take you to another room, subsequently take you to another room, and they're just grilling you on the same questions over and over. So if that does happen to you, by the way, just make sure that you are very straightforward with your answers, short and straight to the point. You don't need to embellish. And you need to make sure your story stays consistent. And that's why I'm like, don't embellish. Don't give people anything more than what they need. There's like an episode of I don't know, like we've all seen the episodes of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And there was the one where the Carlton and Will get like the judge's car because Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv were going with their friends who are all judges, and they were going to fly to this place in like Vegas or something because they're going to go to see the fight in this hotel room. And then Will and Carlton were going to drive the judge's car, not Uncle Phil's, but Uncle Phil's friend, the judge's car, and meet them. But they got stopped by the cops, and the cops are like, what are these two black kids doing with with this really nice car? So they got stopped and they were detained. I know this is like long, but like they're there like getting interrogated at the police station, and like police are asking the two kids, where are you from? LA. Or Phil or Will is like, LA, next question. And Carlton's like, no, we're not just from LA. We're from Bel Air. We're next door neighbors to blah blah blah. And Will is like, shut up. Just give them absolutely only what they need to know and nothing more. Next question. And like every time they did a question, Will was like this. And like he like gave the one word or three words like answer and was like, shut up. And then Carlton was like, go off and like give him these like long stories. And so, but then I was just like, that's very much how we have to treat TSA. Where'd you come from? Europe. What part of Europe? Spain. What were you doing in Spain? Traveling. Where'd you stay? Hotels. How long were you there? 2 weeks. Don't give them anything more than what they need. Nothing more than they need. Absolutely nothing more. Don't volunteer information because you just don't know what's going on with these people when they're checking you at TSA. So be careful on that. And I love the idea of the air tags. They did too. And they're gonna get air tags so that they are able to track each other if something happens at the airport. Yeah, so along those lines, like if you're going to be traveling, I would say like if you're traveling with someone who's international, please have that international attorney on standby or an attorney on standby, or it's international immigration. If you're traveling with someone who's not from this country, like a significant other or a husband and wife, which however, just make sure you have someone on standby if you're insisting on going, because you just don't know what's going to happen. If you do happen to get stopped, nothing more than what they absolutely need. So the other thing I want to say is call someone as soon as your plane lands. Like as soon as like not like as soon as it like when we all know the plane lands and they're like, please don't touch your luggage or please don't stand up until the captain says that it's all clear. But they also make the announcement like, okay, we're all clear. You're free to make a call. And at this point, you'll hear everybody like they're making calls or whatever. My suggestion is that no matter what, have a designated someone where you've given them your itinerary and they know when you have left and they know when you're supposed to arrive back to the United States. So you call that person when you have arrived to let them know my plane's arrived. And this is important because if for some reason you get detained, and it could be for hours, it could be for days, we don't know. You could be deported for whatever reason. I don't know. But if somebody is alerted that you're arrived and then you suddenly like and yeah, okay, the plane's landed, and then like it's been 12 hours and you still haven't made it home, and then called to say, okay, I've made it home and it's okay. At that point, that person can say, okay, something's going on. They can run down to the airport and hopefully help with whatever's going on and see if they can track you down somehow and probably snag an attorney on the way. Um, the other thing that you want to think about is if you have any kind of delays, as always, please do make sure that that the person that you're text or that you're dealing with, like that's like holding on to your itinerary, making sure that you're on your way back. If you're having a 4 or 5 hour delay and they're kind of like, oh, we expected you to be back sooner than later, and then they are getting sleepy and tired because they don't know what's going on, it could freak them out or it could mess up their schedules. And just make sure that if you somehow get delayed, that you let them know. Like I went to Russia one year and we were on our way back, and it wasn't even like on the way back. It's just our flight was delayed by like 5 or 6 hours, and it turned out they were in a storm, and the plane that we were in was in a storm, and it was winter, of course. And when the plane landed, they were working so hard to like stop the plane because it was just snowing, that they blew out all the tires. So they had to change all the tires on the plane, and it took hours. Okay. So unexpected things like that, you want to make sure that the people that are supposed to be watching over you can't like will know. And then, you text them when you've arrived, and then you text them when you have arrived back home. And then just say, okay, after say 5 hours, if you haven't heard from me, at that point be concerned. And maybe have even like the name of a lawyer that you might want to have them bring along. That'd be nice. Um, the one thing that disturbs me quite a bit is that they are going to now start going through your your devices, your iPhones, your iPads, your Samsung Galaxies, your laptops. If you are coming back from overseas, they are going to go, or they have the right, they say, to go through it. Now, you have to prove that the device can power up. So you can't say, well, then I'm just going to drain the battery and then it'll just be like a dead phone or a dead laptop. You have to show that that device can actually power up. You must be able to show that. And those are just the new TSA rules in general for everybody. However, the fact that they're able to go through your phone is and your and through your laptops and everything, to me that's extremely invasive. It's overreaching, and in my opinion it's an invasion of privacy. Excuse me. So I was trying to figure out like what can you do and what can't you do. One thing that I have found in my research is that they cannot order you, they can order you to turn it on and prove that it actually can power up. If they turn it on and it powers up and there's no kind of password or anything on your laptop or your iPad or your cell phone or whatever, they can just immediately start going through all of your information. And who knows what they're doing? Are they downloading it? Are they taking files of some sort? Are they putting files on your or software of any kind? Could be file, could be software, whatever, on your devices. You don't know. So you need to put some kind of lock on all of your devices, whether it be a passcode or a PIN or or a username and a password. They cannot ask you to power up and then put in your password, put in a a pin, put in like passcodes. They cannot ask you that, but they can take your biometric data and use that to open your phone. What is biometric data? Biometric data is a way of authenticating who you are. So when you authenticate to a device, you have to prove who you are. And then in some cases, you have to prove like what level of access do you have? Like I have a laptop here, for example, and there's that laptop only has like basic access to the drives. Now, I have another laptop here that has administrative access. And so it has a lot more privilege. And so when you are authenticating into like any kind of account of any sort, they'll always make you prove who you are. Okay, username and a password. Or like some kind of hardware security token or QR code or like one-time passcode or something. So on your computer, you have to authenticate. Some people choose to do a facial scan, and then it's like unlocked, or thumbprint and then unlocked, retinal scan and then unlock. I don't like those because, and I'm going to tell you this because I am in IT. There are databases that are being created or have already been created with all your personal information. And not just like with the government or whatever, but everything that you interact with is collecting data about you. You are a walking data repository. And all businesses are trying to do is get to your data. They're trying to get to you. And the one thing that makes us unique, which makes it a bit difficult to copy when like some bad actors are trying to like hack into your system or whatever and trying to like steal your identity, they can't steal your face. Like nobody's Hannibal Lecter. They're not like, rip your face off and then put it on their face. Like they're, they're not gonna, it's not gonna be yet like Red 2 with John Malkovich and Bruce Willis and on all those people, right? And there was like like a scene where they're going through the through the Red Square, and like Bruce Willis has like some kind of like contacts on his eyes that like changes his retina so that he can like retina scan and whatever. So it's like, yeah. So like that was very unusual, and I'm almost sure that you can't do that. But generally, you can't have someone can't steal your face. They can't steal your thumbprint because it's on you. So that's biometrics. It's like bodily stuff. And if you're using it for everything, you're using your thumbprints for work, you use your thumbprints when you're like, paying for Apple Pay, you use your thumbprint. When you go to the gas station, you use your thumbprint for like that. It then becomes not unique anymore. And your thumbprints and things like that get stored at some point into a database. Your name is going to be associated to it. Your face is going to be put in some database, and then your name is going to be associated with it. Your retinals get like your ear, things that are unique to you, and like every ear is unique. Okay, every ear, every set of footprints, every set of handprints and fingerprints, face, those are unique. Retinal, there are certain things about you that are unique, and if you're starting to use it like you're whipping out a credit card every time you make a payment, eventually these things are lost. And there is not going to be a way for you to be able to definitively authenticate and prove who you are when they're taking biometrics from us. So do not put biometrics on your phones, because all they have to do is take your phone and then your phone's unlocked. And now they're going through your phone or through your laptop or whatever. And then on top of that, they are going to keep copies of your face, right? So go into your phones and turn off the biometrics and just keep a passcode of some sort. And that passcode could be like, a set of numbers, or it could be a pattern. And here's what I found out. I used to be a rideshare driver. I picked up this guy one time, and he had like luggage after luggage after luggage. Gets in the car, the conversation. What did you do? He said he was a forensic expert or something like that. And I was like, oh, what are you here for? He's like, I'm here for a case. And I'm like, with all that? He's like, yeah, he's there to crack a phone code. And like all of that equipment to crack a phone code. And I was just like, what? How? Like, this is the thing that I asked him. What's hard to crack? He said, when you do patterns, because patterns, like, there's just no way of you being able to, like, it's really hard to like crack using all the computers and software or whatever. And I know that to be true because I have a phone right here that I found, like an old phone, that I was like, oh yeah, it'd be fun to remember what was on that phone. And so I forgot the pattern. I forgot it. And so like every few days I power it up and I try a new pattern, and I'm like, I can't ever find that pattern. There are computers out there that can detect patterns right now. Not saying it won't be in the future, but right now there isn't. The one where you like, they give you the dots. It's like 4 dots by 4 dots or something, or 3 dots by 3 dots. And there's like, and then you have to connect all like your own unique pattern. So patterns are really hard for them to crack if they try to say, we're going to try to crack this ourselves. He said, passcodes are not as hard. And here's why. Because people don't always clean their phone. And after a while, you can kind of see the pattern on their phone of like certain numbers that seem to be well worn. And so all he has to do is see those numbers and then plug those numbers into like his computers, and his computers are getting to work. And if they can't, and what the computers are doing once they plug the phone in, it's just going through every combination. We saw that movie with Matthew Broderick, War Games. At the end, Joshua was trying to get the launch codes, so he just kept on like running the codes until he got all the codes, and then they're like, "Oh my gosh, he's gonna release the missiles!" And then they're like, "You know what? Let's have him play tic-tac-toe." You remember that one? So like there's not going to be a computer like Whopper, I guess it's called, that's out there like trying to like diffuse the moment that for your phones or whatever, and they're trying to like do. But the best thing for you to do is put a pattern on it and make sure, I'm begging you, Remember what that passcode is. So don't just do it, go on vacation, don't use your phone. Then you get back and then you're like, I can't remember my code. Because if you can't remember your code, more likely than not, you'll never get back into that phone. Never. So use a code that you know you're going to remember and be really careful. Be really careful. So along those lines, if for some reason they do get into your phone, you have choices. While you're on the plane, when the plane comes back, after you contact your friend to say, hey, I've arrived. And I'm going to tell you what to do. And then I'm going to tell you, like, this is what you like, how. So don't just do it. You can wipe your phone, wipe everything, wipe your computer, wipe everything, just to be on the safe side. So you can keep it on, and just like not give them permission to go into your phones and your laptops, whatever. But if you're just like wanting to be extra cautious, save everything that you have on your computers, your laptops, your mobile devices, or whatever. Make sure it's all saved. Now, I have found that things like, and I'm looking at my other computer right now, things like photos and videos are really hard for, whether it be a Samsung Galaxy, and I'm just going to go with Samsung Galaxy, and iPhones, because they seem to have the same level of, we really struggle on this kind of thing. But photos and videos and files are really difficult for these particular phones to, like, you can't just like save it to a cloud. So what you can do, if you have phones, or sorry, if you have photos, or if you have videos, or if you have files of some sort that you want to keep, get some kind of cloud that you can use, that you can then just have it on the cloud. And then when you delete the third-party app, like for example, Dropbox, then when you delete the third-party app, it's still on Dropbox, right? It's in the cloud. Wipe everything. So save everything to the cloud, to your iPhone cloud, to the Galaxy, which Galaxy uses OneDrive, and I'm looking at the other thing. OneDrive and Google Drive, and Google Photos. Yeah, it uses all that. So you can save everything to your, most everything, to your Google Drive or whatnot. Now it says for your Samsung, if you have files, then you need to use OneDrive or Google Drive. If you have photos and video, you need to use OneDrive and Google Photos. And that's if you're working with Samsung. Now for iPhone, if you are working with, I'm looking for it. Yeah, if you're working with I'm looking for it. Yes. If you are working with like devices like iPhone, first of all, think about Dropbox, because you can put Dropbox on your iPhone as well. And then you can take all your videos, your photos, your files, save it to Dropbox. And I don't work for Dropbox. I don't make a dime off Dropbox. I don't have some kind of like, referral code that's going to earn me anything. I'm just giving you an option. But it says here, iCloud backups include device settings, app data, home screen layout, organization, photos and videos. They says if you don't use iCloud photos, and if you do, they sync separately. Messages, if not using messages in iCloud, and health data, Apple Watch backups, and more. Okay, so they were saying Like if you are not using that, then just use a third party um cloud and then wipe your phones, wipe them. Um, and then you don't have to worry like about anything. And then when you get home, it's going to take a little bit of time, but when you get back home, which also, let me just say this as a as an aside, that person that you designated as like the I'm going to notify you when I get through customs, blah blah blah. Make sure you have their number stored away in like 3 or 4 different places so that when you wipe everything and the time comes you need to make that call to that person and say, okay, I've made it through customs, then at least you have that phone number written someplace. So be careful on that as well. Make sure that you have enough storage as well. Like my iPad is constantly really close to the limits on storage. So if that's the case, then before I leave, I'm going to have to make sure that I dump a lot of data or just save it elsewhere so that I can free up enough space so that, when I'm coming back, I have a place for this data to go. Because if you're sitting there on a plane, you don't have enough storage, and then you like say, oh yeah, I'm going to save everything, then wipe. If you've got like 30 gigs of data, but you only have like your iCloud only has like 15 gigs of storage, it's going to start to save. And then after a certain point in time, it's going to say, you've run out of space. And then you're not going to be able to upload. So be careful on that. And that is an option that I think would be good to try just in case. Um, uh, yeah, so I want to make sure that I was clear on that. Now, if you are someone who's critical of this administration, the smart thing to do, because again, they're going to be, I've heard, let me just back this up a little bit. I have seen accounts of people, and accounts isn't those. I have seen people talk about their experience coming back from out of the country and they are stopped by customs. And somehow customs knows who these bloggers and vloggers and and like outspoken critics of this administration are. And so they have been going through these people's social medias and going through like any public displays of information or anything that you put on the internet. They've been pulling that stuff up and then asking them questions about this administration that focus on the things that you posted, focus on the things that you maybe published. And so, I mean, doesn't it sound like we're going into a police state? It's kind of nuts. So the solution to that is simply make your social media much more anonymous. Like, in addition to all the things that you are going to do that I've outlined with you, I think the smart thing to do is make your social media anonymous. So, I mean, and I don't know exactly how you're going to do it because you're going to have to get a username or change your username. And if your username is Charlie Bell, and there's like a billion Charlie Bells, well, it's not going to be Charlie Bell anymore. Maybe it's going to be like church bells with a Z, BELLZ, 2010, or something along those lines. And then you just proceed with your business. So then that way, if you come back, they're not like saying, "Oh yeah, we know Coffee Brown." Like we already know before Coffee's arrived that Coffee's on that plane, and we're going to detain her and ask her a lot of questions. How do you feel about this administration? How do you feel about like certain news events or things that have occurred in the media. How do you feel about those things? And I'm not going to give them the opportunity to do that. So I would change my social media handles to something that is a bit more anonymous so that they can't necessarily catch you. I'm using that kind of like catch you. Okay. You want to be careful out here in these TSA streets because I mean, and I could go on and on and on, and I'm sure I will because as the weeks fly by, there continue to be more observed and newer uh, issues that are popping up that people are reporting about. And so I was just like, you know what? We need to be safe when we travel. We're going into the travel season. Memorial Day is the start of the travel season. So be safe. And P.S., if you're traveling or traveling by car, we all know that they hiked the price of gas like right before Labor Day weekend. I'm sorry, Memorial Day weekend, like about 2 days before, 3 days before. So you know what? Get gas this weekend. I mean, unless you're somebody that's driving all the time or whatever. Find out like it's at the very like the very last like if you are I mean this weekend is the weekend this week coming up is Labor Day week and then next weekend is Labor Day weekend. So what can you do? Most likely you're gonna be probably travel going to work probably Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, not as much Thursday, Friday. So gas up on Wednesday and fill up your tank before they raise the price 25, 30 cents because they're gonna do it. So that's my travel advice for just being safe in general. Like, if you're traveling domestically and you're traveling by car, just be safe. All right. That's it. That's all I have for you. I'm sorry about that lack of the week. I was not able to get to the Met Gala things because I just simply I'm tired. It was a really demanding um like project. It was just a 1 day project, but it took me 2 days to recover from the 1 day project. And I was just like, I'm so tired right now. And it took me like 3 days before that to prep for it. I just haven't had any time. At some point, I think I'm just gonna go through and kind of like highlight, like I like this, I like this, I like this, I like this, I like this. Um, I love that whole idea of dandyism. Like when it all came to life on the carpet, I really liked it. Anyway, that's another it's another one, another day. All right. Again, my name is Coffee Brown, as you can see. And the name of my channel is called Coffee Spills the Tea. Please, as always, like this video and subscribe to this channel because after all, like it's free. So it helps my analytics and it helps for YouTube to drive more traffic to me if people are liking and interacting with my channel. Put something down in the chat there in the chat below. If you think that there's something else that we need to be focusing on to be safe while we're traveling, please put that into the chat and let us know. Let us all know because I'm sure I didn't catch everything. But in the meantime, I might have it in me to do one more. I'm kind of tired still from this week, but slowly recovering. And otherwise, I will see you at some point next week. And you all have a safe weekend. I should say today is Saturday, May 17th. So have a great weekend. And if I don't hear from you, or you don't hear from me until next week, I will see you next week with a new video. Bye, everybody.